say the least.
While jumping, press the A button to perform a homing attack.
So we're back to ChaosX's Sonic P-06 project, once again with a brand new demo that released in July 2020. This fan remake of Sonic 06 for PCs is probably the most substantial of the lot, with every action stage from Sonic's story now available to play in the Trial Select menu. Once again, I'm reviewing this game from a low-end PC perspective, as I simply can't run the game with all the high-end graphical effects on my current setup. You can see my exact configuration I use for this capture here. With that out of the way, I do think this demo showcases a significant improvement over the previous one. Character control is significantly more responsive, and it makes your path through the stages feel fluid and, most importantly, fun. There are still some issues with the increased character control, mainly during the snowboard sequences, but a lot of my issues with these sections have been easily corrected with the addition of a kick button, which allows you to build speed like you would on a skateboard. It's a great little addition that solves the problem of hitting a wall and slowing to an absolute crawl as you desperately try and manoeuvre your character away and down a slope to build up momentum again. The way tricking off ramps works also feels better and is more akin to something like SSX, where you hold the jump button and release. Hold the button longer for a bigger jump and a fancier trick. It's pretty good stuff on the whole. A shame this section where you run towards the camera is plagued with objects you can run into, killing your speed and getting you instantly killed by the hazard behind. But this is once again an issue with the source material. Sonic 06 is a badly designed game, and while the better load times and increased character control do help alleviate some of the problems with the original game, the stage designs themselves are the real problem. They're absolutely loaded with pitfalls, you're tasked with repeatedly homing attacking enemies to defeat them, and it's boring and repetitive, and the sections where you take control of another character are often dull distractions that just take you away from playing as Sonic, who has the most interesting moveset out of everyone. He's just fun to control, and charging around the stages and comboing off rows of enemies to then hit a sequence of springs and run around a loop will always be fun whatever game you're doing it in. Playing as Tails or Silver or Knuckles never gives you the sort of dynamic madness to enjoy, and despite some improvements to their control scheme and moveset, you're still basically drawn away from the real fun of Sonic. At this point in its development, Sonic P-06 is easily the best way to play Sonic 06. It is a better performing, better controlling game than its 360 or PS3 counterparts, and if that's enough to make you want to give this a go, then this is definitely for you. Unfortunately, the stages themselves are still based on their original designs, and that means that they come with all their original flaws. Sonic P-06 may be the best way to experience Sonic 06, but playing it still requires you to wrestle with Sonic 06's rubbish stage designs and bombardment of multiple hit enemies.
Project 06 caught me off guard. Based on earlier showings and other fan projects in the same vein, I was expecting a fairly straight remake, perhaps due to my impression that the only kind of person willing to undertake a project as dramatic in scope as this is someone who probably already loves Sonic 06 a little too much and is too forgiving of its flaws. Thankfully that's not the case, and ChaosX has done a ludicrously impressive job with this. Sonic's movement is now buttery smooth and has actual weight to it, with his air control being far better than previous demos of this project. It's still not perfect in this regard, as sometimes Sonic can feel a bit loose and unwieldy, but it's genuinely refreshing to play a Sonic fan game that aims for something a bit more restrained than the numerous momentum physics focused 3D fan games. Those are fine, don't get me wrong, and it's not that Project 06 is lacking in momentum physics at all, but it's that the physics aren't the sole focus, and the speed feels more reined in and actually controllable like the Sonic Adventure titles. That also goes for the vastly improved max speed sections, where you can now slow down and even bounce off enemies as you'd expect. In fact, in the original Sonic 06, Sonic couldn't jump into enemies at all, so it's surprisingly fun just to be able to do that much. But it's all here. You can even spin dash jump, just like in the adventure titles, and while it's not as broken as it was then, it's still so satisfying. Sonic's not the only one to get that kind of TLC either. You don't play as Tails, Knuckles and Silver too much in this, but their improvements are fairly dramatic. Tails has a fun little bounce attack that can drop onto enemies out of his flight, as well as his tail swipe from Sonic Adventure. Knuckles doesn't get stuck to walls anymore, and that alone sent my stream viewers into a frenzy. And Silver might as well be a different character. He can now paralyse enemies using ESP projectiles, which feels a lot less clumsy than the old method of doing things. And he moves a ton faster, but not to the point of being uncontrollable. There's just a lot more flow and momentum to his movement in general. I'm honestly more excited to see his story recreated in this project than Shadow's now. It's not all sunshine and rainbows though. I remember being really excited to unlock Super Sonic in the demo, which you can get by clearing the demo with every S rank and then finding a rainbow gem in Kingdom Valley. But he highlights a major issue that's unfortunately just inherent to Sonic 06. The level design. It's far too stop and start. There's too much emphasis on combat. In Sonic terms, that just means stop all of your forward momentum to sit in a little arena and homing attack some enemies for a bit. While it's fun to play 06 with an actually working set of physics, and Super Sonic is still pretty fun to mess with once you've got him, the level design feels limiting. You're dragged to a halt far too often unless you master some often obtuse strategies to try and bypass those parts as best you can. Even the platformy bits of Sonic Adventure still had a lot of forward momentum to them. It still felt like you was still playing a Sonic game. It never dragged you to a halt too much. And I can't say the same of Sonic 06's level design. On the whole though, I'm definitely impressed, and I'm eager to see more. I don't think this project unearths Sonic 06 as some hidden masterpiece. The level design just isn't up to par with the adventure titles for that, particularly Adventure 1. But it's certainly a vast improvement on the original. And ironically, despite being based on one of the most broken Sonic games of all time, this is probably one of the most polished fan projects I've played. Just maybe not so much in the optimization department if Lewis's experiences are anything to go by.
This lamppost! Maybe I can swing on it.